I'm here in Oakville at Black Oak Brewery with Adrian and Ken, and we're standing behind this huge barrel. This says bourbon on it, bourbon whiskey, so
Yes.
It was originally a bourbon barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And is it from the States?
Yes, it is.
And what's it doing here in Oakville?
We fill it full of beer a long time ago, and just let it age in the back of the fridge. So various things got piled on it for about a 2-year time frame, and we had our Christmas Nutcracker Porter from 2005 just sitting here nice and quietly, just doing its thing. And the wood has got all these neat characters. There's a little bit of essence or flavor of bourbon in there, so it absorbed a lot of meat flavors. And it was brilliant to try. I was really pleased at how easy it was to do and how fantastic it tasted in the end.
I did have some of that beer, and it was quite nice. Now I feel like it was not only the bourbon that added flavor to the beer, but also the wood itself.
Yeah, there's definitely the smoky and woody characters that you get. The longer you can age the beer before tasting it, usually the more those flavors become pronounced. So it's usually better to try to let it sit there. It's hard to be patient enough to actually let it sit that late, but especially a 2-year time frame was really hard. We sort of had to ignore that part of the fridge for all that time, just so that wouldn't pop it prematurely.
It's professional beer people trying not to taste beer for 2 years, which is really hard to do, but in the end it was definitely worthwhile.
How did you know how long to keep it in there?
We didn't. We were sort of guessing. We'd read it that the Americans had been doing a lot of bourbon casks, a lot of whiskey casks, a lot of sherry casks, and to my knowledge, not too many Canadian breweries have done that. So I think we were one of the first, if first 5 or 10, or maybe the first brewery, especially in Ontario, to stick some beer in a barrel, throw it in the back of the fridge, and see what happens.
We've done it previously with our nut brown ales as well, and I don't know, you can't see the thing that we did, but at Fort York as well as at different cask events, and people really like that flavor, and we kind of figured that with a porter, having even more malt character and the cinnamon and the bourbon, all those nice warm flavors coming through, it would be a really nice marriage, right? So it'd be really exciting to try.
And how did you pick bourbon as the cask, or was it just what
They're very
was available?
common. I mean, they are oak, right? So black oak kind of thing. So that kind of fits in that theme.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then bourbon tends to be Canadian wood, typically. And the nice thing about the bourbon folks is that they only use the barrel really once, right? Unlike the Canadian rye, they tend to reuse the barrels more often, I believe.
Right.
So, we had it accessible. We actually have different flavored barrels, so of different bourbon whiskey varieties. We have, for example, Jim Beam. This is Four Roses, different other ones that we use, and they do actually contribute a different flavor to the beer depending on that base of whiskey or bourbon, whatever you want to call it.
I'd love to get my hands on a single malt Scotch barrel from Scotland. I think that would be so neat to try, and that would be very hard not to taste that beer for the time it is sitting in that whiskey barrel.
So do you have? So you definitely have plans to do other beers?
Oh yes.
In barrels.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a fun medium to do. So absolutely.
Once again,
Excellent.
it's very different for our customers, and they get to have something really unique. And it's at the time it's much of a surprise for them as it is for us just to see. And then we can sort of compare year to year, different barrel to different barrel. But each one is going to be different. Each one's going to have a ton of flavor, and it's a neat project.
Excellent. So you're going to have to reserve a corner of the fridge.
Carve another space and build around it, I think.
Yeah.